blush today. I tried a new MAC Mineralized Blush that I got a few days ago, and a light hand is needed. Now, I usually just dip once, but it's very pigmented. But the camera usually doesn't pick up a lot of my blush, and now it definitely does. I just still have to leave the house later on. And I already tried wiping off with my foundation brush, but this is just the way it is today. So yes, people are gonna see me with a lot of blush, but there are a lot of people who have blush blindness and love that and just want a lot of blush. So there you go. Today I thought this is a video I've actually wanted to make for years and just never got around to it. But I thought it would be a fun little topic to talk about things Americans do or things that they have in America that confuse the hell out of me as a European. And I think out of a lot of Europeans, I actually found some of these on a website that I was like, oh yeah, I wouldn't have thought of putting that in, but I do actually also think it's weird. So, I thought that would be just a fun topic for a video. It's nothing serious. We're not going to get into anything deep. These are just fun little tidbits. I made a little list. So, the first three are all bathroom related. So, let's just get those out of the way. First of all, half your toilet bowls are filled with water. If you've ever been to a European toilet, we have this much water in our bowls. And half your bowl is filled with water. Now, I don't know the reasoning behind this, but I can somewhat understand that it might be done for hygiene reasons, because you wouldn't get anything, you wouldn't get any remnants stuck to the bowl as where we do a lot, because the water doesn't reach high enough. So, I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea, but it grosses me out because I'm not used to it. And while I know realistically this is my anxious or just ludicrous brain thinking about things that cannot happen, if I have to go number two, I'm always worried that it's just gonna reach up to my ass, essentially. Which I know doesn't happen, has never happened, but it creeps me out. And by the way, I've noticed that a lot of hotels don't have this. This is usually public bathrooms. I will also say that I have a phobia of public bathrooms. I try to avoid them at all costs. If I go to a theme park, even if I'm there for 7 hours, I will hold it as long as I possibly can until I'm back. Doesn't always work, but I do everything I can not to have to use a public bathroom because I just hate them so much. But that is one of the things that we don't do. And I think I get the reason for it, but it kind of grosses me out a little bit. The second thing that grosses me out is that your toilet seat has a gap in the middle. Ours goes all the way around. Yours meets, like, yours stops and has a gap in the middle. And that gap, by the way, is always filthy. So, I heard somewhere that's also supposed to be a hygiene reason, but I don't think it works because I always wipe the toilet seat before I sit on it. But that gap is disgusting, so I don't touch the gap. You technically also don't sit in the gap. But what's wrong with wiping the whole toilet seat and just having a whole toilet seat that goes around? I don't understand why there's a gap in the middle. That's always gross, and I just hate using it so much. These are all things, by the way, that I know I have a lot of American viewers. If you know the reasoning behind this and you can explain it, please do. Maybe it is genuinely more hygienic than what we do in Europe, and I'd love to hear it. Besides, Europe is not all the same. I would never use a French public toilet either, because it's often just a hole in the ground. There are a few European countries that have a hole in the ground. I once went to a public French bathroom that had no seat. Like, when men lift the seat to pee, that's all there was. There was no seat, so I had to sit on that. There was just a bowl. I had to sit on the bowl, and I was so grossed out. And I'm not one of those people that can lean over the bowl and pee. I can't squeeze a drop out if I can't sit down. So, this is why I hate public bathrooms. It's very hard for me to get around them. So, yeah, the toilet seat having a gap in the middle confuses me. And then the third thing is your public bathroom stalls have a huge gap in the door where literally everyone can see you pee. Now, I've never actually watched or seen anyone watch me pee. I don't think anyone wants that. I don't want to see people pee. But when people are looking for an empty stall, they inevitably look through the gap at some point and must at least glance at you peeing. Why? Like, I don't get why. In Europe, first of all, most bathrooms have a completely closed off door. I don't necessarily like that either because I'm claustrophobic a lot less than I was as a kid. But as a kid, I once locked myself into a bathroom. I was like 7, I think, and I had a huge panic attack because I couldn't get out. And I was very claustrophobic as a kid. And it took the bathroom attendant like 10 minutes to talk me down so she could slowly talk me through opening the door. But since then, until I was well into my 20s, I would always ask someone to go to the public bathroom with me so they could mind the door because I didn't want to lock it. So I don't mind that there's a gap, say, underneath the door, because if you do get stuck, you can crawl out underneath. And I don't think anyone is gonna lie on the floor to watch you sit on the toilet. I mean, that would just be perverted, and we're all women in the same bathroom. So, not that I'm blaming men of being that perverted. I mean, seeing someone sitting on the toilet I don't think is sexy for anyone. But you have a huge gap on the side of the door. Why? That's not necessary for any reason. You can't climb out of it. It's not big enough for that. But it's big enough for everyone to see you. And this is one that I found on a lot of websites that people have problems with. They're like, why is there a gap in a bathroom stall? Like, why is the gap on the side of the door so big? And it genuinely is, and it's a question I've asked myself for years. Don't get it. Don't get the reasoning behind it. If you know, let me know. But it is creepy. Then your portions of food and drinks are humongous. Like, for me, I'm a tiny person. I'm also not a huge eater because I've had digestive problems for years. But I eat like a third of what I get given. And in fairness, that's also typically the portion you would get in a European restaurant. I'm sure a lot of Americans travel to Europe and feel like they get stiffed when they go to a restaurant because you get a third of the portion and it probably costs you more. But your drinks as well, like you can get 44-ounce drinks at like Dunkin' Donuts. 44 ounce is, I believe, I looked it up, damn it, and I forgot to write it down. I think 44 ounce is something, 40 ounce I know is 1.2 liters. So 44 is maybe like 1.3, 1.4 liters. That's pretty much your water intake for the day. But the thing is, you're not buying water. That's not what they sell. They sell sugary drinks or iced coffees or things like that, just unhealthy stuff. I know the United States is a big problem with obesity, but it's not like Europe doesn't have obese people. But your food portions, that really always baffles me, particularly the Cheesecake Factory. I really like the Cheesecake Factory, but I could eat for 4 days off the food they give me. Like, it is insane. And I don't typically go out to restaurants anymore in the United States. Well, I don't until I get my digestive issues sorted, and I'm working on it. I had a chat with my GP recently, and we're trying to get it investigated because it's been going on for so long. But in Europe, I still go to a restaurant because whenever I visit my parents love eating in a restaurant, so we go like 2 or 3 times per visit. But the portions aren't huge. I usually always order fish because I love fish and I don't know how to make it at home. It always falls apart. So I always order fish, which is lightly digestible, and it is not huge in portion. But recently I ordered the same thing in the US and it came battered, which it didn't say on the menu. So kind of like deep fried, and it came with the hugest amount of sides I've ever seen. And I was eating with American friends, and we had already ordered appetizers for the table, and then they also wanted dessert, and I was like, where are you putting all of this? Like, I can barely finish. I didn't even finish my main course. So I don't really go to American restaurants anymore because I feel it's such a waste of food. I have one of my biggest pet peeves is throwing away food, which unfortunately I've accepted I have to do a lot as a single person because stores rarely sell food for one person. They sell it for 2, and not everything is reheatable the next day. So, and also things like salad, which only stays good for like 3 days. I can't eat the whole bag in 3 days because I'm not gonna eat a salad every day for 3 days. Bread is something that expires quite quickly and that I can't eat by myself fast enough before it expires. So I've had to come to an acceptance with the fact that I have to throw food out as a single person, but I really, really hate it. So that's why I don't go to American restaurants anymore, because the portions are too big. Now my favorite burger chain, because I genuinely think they have the best burgers in the world, is Shake Shack. Shake Shack also has pretty small burgers, so that's great. I can't order both the burger and like the bacon and cheese fries because I can't eat both. I typically order one or the other. But like Five Guys, which we do have in Ireland, correction, which we have in Dublin, nowhere in the rest of Ireland is there one. And things like In-N-Out, their burgers are pretty big, and I would feel very overwhelmed eating them. But that's me. That's my stomach. I don't think necessarily they're too big for most people, but places like the Cheesecake Factory and just general restaurants where you order like pasta or Mexican food or things like that are just humongous. Wow, I've been talking about this for a while. Not my intention. What I did also want to point out is that Starbucks drink sizes are bigger in the US than in Europe, which I think is highly unfair. But I've always had that impression, and I googled it, and it is in fact true. First of all, I love their peach green tea lemonade. It is my favorite drink of all time, seriously, and I always get it. When I'm in the US, I go to Starbucks almost every day to get that because I don't drink coffee. So I drink my iced tea, and I always get a Trenta. Trenta is not a size that exists in Europe. We don't have that. Our biggest size is a venti. Looked it up. A venti for cold drinks, because there's a difference between warm drinks and cold drinks. A venti for cold drinks in the United States is 24 ounces, and in Europe it's 20 ounces. And that's a difference for those of us who use the metric system of 118 milliliters. That's a lot. That's almost half of a glass of a regular glass. And I'm almost certain our prices are higher, so we pay more, we get less. And we don't have a Trenta. Like, I love buying my Trenta because I spend all afternoon drinking it. I sip on it, and my iced tea just lasts me the whole afternoon, and I love that. But that's not something we have in Europe. Fenty is the biggest thing we have. Okay. Garbage disposals. I could Google how they work, but where's the fun in that? You guys explain to me how they work. I don't think anyone in Europe has them. I've never seen them here. You throw stuff in the sink, and then you click on a switch, and it seems to, I don't know, it makes a really loud noise. What does it do? Does it mulch it? And is there a garbage bag underneath that catches it? Because I've seen it a lot in fictional shows, the garbage disposal. But I do also see people still taking out the trash. So, and I know not everything's allowed in a garbage disposal. So do you take out the trash that's not allowed? Or does the garbage disposal still end up in a garbage bag that you ultimately have to take out, but does it just mulch everything to make it a lot smaller? Or does it actually go through a drain and end up somewhere? Also, what happens when you accidentally run the tap when you're turning on the garbage disposal? Is it allowed to have water in it, or would that break it? And like, what's the purpose of it is essentially my question, I guess. How does it make your life easier? Because that's ultimately the point, isn't it? And it sounds like a good idea to me, but I don't know how it works. I know not everything's allowed to go in it, but I don't know what happens when you throw stuff in it and then you click the button. What does it actually do, and where does the trash go? Big question. The next thing is your prescription drug ads. I've gotten so used to seeing them, but they still baffle me. You'll never see them in Europe, first of all. The only drug ads you'll ever see in Europe are prescription, over-the-counter drugs like painkillers, like ibuprofen or paracetamol, which in the US is called acetaminophen, or something like Gaviscon. But you guys actually have ads, like every second ad on your TVs for a prescription drug, and they are like cancer drugs, like chemo drugs or immunotherapy drugs. Like, I watch a lot of cancer YouTubers, and I didn't realize that's the kind of drugs they were making ads for until someone mentioned they were taking Keytruda, and I was like, I've seen an ad for that in the US a lot. That's an immunotherapy drug, really? So there's so many like antidepressants and like MS and cancer drugs that are like, if you're already taking these, talk to your doctor about adding this in because it might be helpful to you. And then I think to myself, okay, but if you have a good doctor, wouldn't they already know this exists and add it in themselves? Like, I don't know why. Like, whenever people have all these conspiracy theories about big pharma and them not wanting to find a cure for big diseases because they can get so much more money out of medication, I always think that's just conspiracy. But I kind of understand now why a lot of people think that way, because they advertise those medications on TV, and again, every second ad is one for one of those medications. So it definitely looks like they're pushing them to make money off them. So I'm starting to understand the whole big pharma conspiracy a little bit more. And the funny thing I think about this is that apparently, I'm guessing by law, in the US, you have to list every possible side effect. So you see in the background these people frolicking and happily, merrily living their life, while this voice rambles off every possible side effect, including death, which is a side effect of pretty much every medication. A possible side effect, I should say. It just rambles all of these off. Now, my over-the-counter painkiller has a lot of these possible side effects, but if I knew all of them, I wouldn't take the drug. Like, I'd be too afraid to. So, the law, because I know the United States is a very litigious country, the law of like listing every possible side effect on TV for me, would have the opposite effect. I would be too afraid to take the medication and wouldn't even go for it. And it's the juxtaposition of seeing all these happy, this medication is making me living my life so much easier, while a voice just lists all the horrendous things that could happen to you if you take it. It's just so bizarre. Yeah, I don't. It's definitely not something you would see here, not for prescription medication. And we also, I don't think, are required to list side effects, because for over-the-counter ones, that's never mentioned. Oh, and also the first sentence every time they start with the possible side effects are, do not take if you are allergic. And I'm like, really? You have to say that? Like, if you don't know you're allergic, okay, but then that sentence doesn't make sense anyway. You're essentially telling people that if they know they're allergic to the medication, not to take the medication. I'm not sure that's necessary. I don't think a person can sue you for taking something they knew they were allergic to. The fact that that has to be stated makes me question people a little bit, honestly. Yeah. Wearing pajamas to the grocery store. Now, first of all, I want to say, I know there are people in England or places in England that do that too, particularly small towns. And I'm sure there are small towns in Ireland where people do that, but I've never seen anyone do that. However, in the US, I've seen plenty of people do that, typically to Walmart, and huge Walmarts, and they just walk around in their pajamas. Why is that a thing? I mean, it's comfortable. And I often do things that I'm like, oh my god, I'm so embarrassed. And then I think to myself, you know what? You're never going to see these people again, so who cares? And maybe that's how they think, so more power to them. But is that a thing? Like, for my American viewers, is that a thing where you live? Is that like an overall thing, or more in specific parts of the country? But I've definitely seen it in Orlando quite a few times. Tax isn't included in the price of your product. This one drives me bonkers, because I never know how much I'm actually going to pay at checkout up front. I could look up the sales tax for Florida, but I still have to, in my mind, keep track of how much everything I put in my basket costs, and then try to manually add the tax to it, and I'm not good at math, okay? I find myself a pretty intelligent person. I'm great at languages. I think I'm pretty good at, like, life advice and things like that, but I am bad at math. So, adding that up, not really gonna be a thing. And plus, I don't even know the sales tax. I'm going to New York now at the end of May. I don't know what the sales tax in New York is either. So I don't understand why it's not added to the product price. That's what we do here. It's not like our products don't have tax. Of course we have tax, but it's included in the price that's listed on the label. So when you check out, the price that you thought the product cost is actually what you pay for it. I don't know why in the United States they have to do the tax separately. Why not just include it in the price of the product? But that really bothers me, because I forget it every time, and then I end up paying way more than I was expecting, and budget on a trip because I forget about the sales tax, which, believe me, depending on how much you buy, can make a huge difference. Yeah. The lack of vacation days. I think that also depends what company you work in. My company is pretty good. If you start, I think you get 15, and then once you hit 10 years, you get 20, and once you hit 20 years of service, you get 25, which is really good. You also get some personal days. Again, I don't understand the concept behind that. Why separate personal days and not just add them to your vacation days? We don't have personal days. We just get everything lumped into vacation days. But yeah, but most American companies, like I don't work for an American company. We just have a lot of locations in America, but I don't work for an American, but my company is European, so I think that's why we offer more vacation days over there. But a lot of Americans get 10. Like my American colleague, when she started with our company, she started as an external contractor, so she technically worked for a separate company and then was like hired, like rented out to us. She got no, not one. That would be ridiculous. I think she got five vacation days for a whole year. And it's like normal. Like, I have a colleague who had 20 years of service at 20 vacation days, and he took 5 every year, and like, 3 or 4 day weekends. And I was like, dude, why aren't you taking a 2-week vacation? You've got so many vacation days left. And he said, I don't know, I just don't need them, and I'm not used to it. He just couldn't wrap his head around it. I have 33 vacation days, which is 6.5 weeks. And I take a lot of vacation with like a bank holiday in the middle. So I stretch it to like 7 weeks. And trust me, by the end of the year, I'm scraping every half day together I can to get more vacation. I struggle with my 7 weeks. I don't think it's not enough for me. And yet, here's a dude who's like, I have 5 days a year. I don't know what to do with the rest of them. It's such a different mentality. I don't understand it. First of all, I think it's terrible that you get that little, but then when you get more, you don't use them because it's not your culture and you don't know what to do with them. I could easily take him just to sit 2 weeks on my ass at home and do nothing. Why not? You have the days, take them. If you have the days. Your school namings based on the grade you're in, that's another thing. Now, in Belgium, you have 6 years of elementary school and 6 years of high school. That's how it works. Simple. Not every European country has it that way either. But I know in the US you have, do you call it elementary school, and then middle school and high school. And high school is 4 years. But then you have names like sophomore. I don't know what that means. I know it's the first year of high school, but I don't know what the word sophomore means. Then you have, what's the one after that? and senior are the last two. Oh, come on, I've watched a million American TV shows. I should know this. Sorry, my foot's falling asleep. Sophomore. Yeah, it'll come to me. I don't know. I'll put a note on the video with the other one. But anyway, you've got a different name for each year. Does anyone know the history behind that? Where that came from? Why you're a junior when you're in your second to last year? Why isn't that the first one and a sophomore like the second to last one? Again, don't know the word, don't know the meaning of the word. I'm gonna quickly Google this because this is gonna drive me freaking nuts that I can't remember. Oh, it also has sophomore meaning on here. No, that's not the word I typed in. Moron. Sophomore. Oh, it's second. A student in the second year of college or a 4-year secondary school. Okay, so sophomore is the second year. Oh, a freshman, a frosh, whatever it is. Like, yeah, a freshman is the first year, sophomore second, then junior, then senior. I can understand junior and senior, but again, I wouldn't put junior as the second to last year of high school. But why? And maybe it doesn't really have a history, but we wouldn't have names like that. You're just in your grade, and that's it. I always thought it was fun, though. I actually think that's kind of a fun thing to be like, hey, I'm a sophomore. But I don't know why the names are there. Then the last one really that I want to talk about is getting your driver's license at age 16. First of all, I would never get in the car with someone that's 16. Never. It's such a backward system. So, you're an adult at 18. You can't vote until you're 18. In the US, you also can't drink until you're 21. But you can get a driver's license at 16. Doesn't that seem young to everyone else? I like high school students driving to school. We cycled to school. Well, I had a moped, a scooter, but it was more a moped. In my last 2 years of high school, because we're not allowed to drive those until we're 16, but a car, 18. In Belgium, you can drink alcohol at age 16. In a public place, you may need to have an adult present. Not sure. But legally, you're allowed to drink alcohol at 16. A lot of school parties serve alcohol. Not allowed to drive until you're 18, not allowed to vote until you're 18, but at 18 you're an adult, so there's also nothing after that you have to wait for. Whereas in the United States, you can get a driver's license at 16, not allowed to vote until you're 18, and not allowed to drink until you're 21. And I think that last one is what confuses me the most. Once you're an adult at 18, why does the law still make decisions for you? I mean, yes, you have to follow the law as an adult. That's not what I mean. I mean, obviously the law still gets to decide that you don't get to kill a person or that you don't get to rob a bank or anything like that. But why does the law still get to tell you as an adult that you're not allowed to drink alcohol for 3 more years? Why is the drinking age limit so high and the driving age limit so low? And I guess you guys would all be used to it and maybe don't question it at all and don't think it's weird. But 16 to me is too young to drive. And maybe I'm just basing that off the fact of how I was at 16. I got my driver's license at 22 because I was a very young 16-year-old. I would not have been mature enough to drive. I think I would have been too afraid to get behind the wheel, and it's not one of my favorite things to do. I like driving. I would do it everywhere. I love driving. But I was not mature enough at 16 to drive. Also, our high schools are not that big. We would not have parking spaces for every 16-year-old to rock up in a car. So, I find that weird, the age thing and what you can and can't do. That's what I'm going to leave it at. This is just a video I wanted to do for a long time. I hope no one's offended. I'm not dissing anything or being appalled at anything. I just don't understand certain things, and I think some things are weird. But you guys being used to them probably think a lot of European stuff is weird, and that's why we're all different, and that's why traveling is so much fun, because you get to experience other cultures and things they do there. But don't offer me a lift if you're 16, because I will not get in your car. No offense. Which everyone watching this is probably going to be offended by and be like, I drove at 16 and I was fine. Good for you. I've seen too many 16-year-olds around me to know that I would not trust them behind the wheel, so it's just nothing. So that's it. Thanks for watching. If you have any of these things that you think Europeans do that are really weird, and you want more information on that, leave it in a comment down below, and feel free to ask. I'm happy to answer any questions. So, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.